Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kayongo, and I'm going to present to you my research work. So, the title is Dashboard for User Context and Live Sequence Awareness. So, my co-supervisor is Marcelo, and then Professor Fausto is my supervisor. Here I'll present. This is my index. So first I'll talk about the motivation. Next we go to the problem statement, the state of the art, and then the methodologies and the importance of my work. So from the motivation, we're going to talk about how the different parts of the work that have led to my research. First, we're going to start with ESM, Experience Sampling Machine. This is a methodology where the researcher does studies on how people feel, what they do, and think in their daily lives. So the researcher asks the people taking part in his research to give self reports at random times. So this could be an application or something of the kind, but then the researcher asks for some questions at random times in the life of the person. And now the second part from ESM, now we come to the human in the loop. I mean, the human in the loop is an approach where in machine learning where the user helps the machine to learn about them. So in other words, from ESM, when we collect the data, we can give it to the machine to learn what from the answers the user gives it. So instead of doing, the machine is, the user is helping the machine to learn about them. But now how it becomes, here the machine could also ask the user about the questions it gives it. And how is this achieved? So I'm going to talk about how the data is presented or represented from the ESM into a way the machine will understand it to carry out the learning. So we present the context from Charolier's work. A context is information which characterizes the situation of the person, and this is both in the spatial and the temporal dimension. So we have another, it's denoted as CME, which is the person. So the context of the person is represented both in the spatial, the location, and then the temporal, which is the event where at the event in which the action of the person is. So the event of the location the person is in. So we take an example here. So okay, I've already described the L and the EL. So we take an example here of the person in the image. Just imagine this person is me. So ME, the person, the location, the context, the current context is that ME, if we take the location, is at the library, and the event is that he is reading. But now, this is beyond, this is more than only this. So the context has also other parts. So on top of this, we would say that, excuse me, at the library, he could be in contact with another person who is Bob. And then with an object, maybe the smartphone or the book that he is reading, and then the set of actions, which we talked about, that he's reading the book or he's speaking on phone. So this is the representation of the data which we have collected. Now, after putting the data in this context, also we build it in another way, so the situation context. This will describe the world from the individual's perspective. So, the data collected after putting it in the context Now, because in any one situation, the person could be reading the book, but then later on he turns and goes to the phone. So this, he has changed the context. So putting this together to create this flow of the context. So this will be the situation context. So coming here, we have the context one where he was reading the book. Now another context where he's maybe changed. Now he's on the phone, but still maybe in the library, or he moves out of the library to another place. So that captures all those different changes. Now putting this together, the situation context, we are able to form a life sequence. So in other words, this is like the kind of different things that happen in the person's life. So we build the life sequence. Now from the life sequence, we are able to generate another part. So since we've been capturing different contexts and putting them together to form the sequence, we are able to bring out other things in the person's life. We come to the habit. So the habit is the pattern, the behavioral patterns acquired by frequent repetition. So if I read a book every day at the library, or if I go to the library every day, I repeat this every day. So this could be my habit, that between 8 and 9 in the morning, because remember the context covers the spatial and the temporal. So between 8 and 9, which is the temporal, I go to the library and I read a book. So that has been captured. So that could be my habit of the time between 8 and 9 every day. So we capture that and we put it in here. So denoting the habit as the sequence and then the actions involved. The sequence in my life and then the action involved. Now from that point, this is like we've presented the data from ESM, bringing it to context. Now from context, we go to the situation context, and from that we go to the habit. So after getting all these, but how is this kept? So this data is represented in knowledge graphs. The knowledge graphs show the connection between the different parts of the context. Remember the parts where the person, the object, and the actions which are involved. So all these are represented in the knowledge graphs, which knowledge graphs are later on saved in the long-term memory. So now that's how our data is represented. And now coming to awareness. So awareness is the state of being aware or having knowledge and understanding of something that is happening. So coming to the context, now this comes to my research, context and life sequence awareness. We've talked about the context. The context is how the data is represented. And then the life sequence is a combination of the situational contexts. So putting this together, in other words, so the user or the person will be aware of the situation of their life, both what happens in the spatial and the temporal, and the spatial and temporal dimensions. So the problem segment in the context and the life sequence, the way we presented it, there is a lot of facts which are hidden in this. So, and these facts can represent the behavior of the person, and these are stored in the knowledge graph. Are represented in the knowledge graph, stored in the long-term memory. But basically, naturally, all these facts are not realized by the person. There are things the person does subconsciously, but these are recorded from the different streams of data which are collected from the user in the ESM. So our goal is to build a dashboard which will enable the user to to be able to visualize and manipulate the knowledge, which is the information which is stored in the long-term memory. And so in so doing, they'll be able to gain knowledge on the hidden, on these facts which probably they wouldn't know, or the behaviors or the habits that they were not able to know. So this is the current situation. So like I've talked before, we have the long-term memory, and inside the long-term memory we have the knowledge graphs. In the knowledge graph we have the context and the situation context. This is the representation of the data we collected. And so this is the data which is stored in here. Now, how machine learning comes in. Remember we talked about the human in the loop. So the machine is learning from the user, from the streams of data they've been collecting, or they are given to in the experiment. So the machine is learning about the different facts which are stored in the knowledge in the knowledge graph. But then it also needs to know something from the user. So when the user gives an answer, say where are you located, the machine will have, over the different answers the user has been giving, the machine will have noticed that on this coordinate, this is where you say that you are at home. So in case you are at another coordinate and the machine realizes that you gave this coordinate, but then it's not the same as what it has been perceiving as home, how does it also communicate from the user and represent its doubt to ask if this is correct? Then another part, so this is the section for the part where the machine is communicating, trying to understand why the user is saying that. Then the other part is the awareness. Like we've said that if we are able to visualize, to avail this data, the representation from the knowledge graphs to the user, then the user will gain awareness, in other words, because they'll be able to visualize the different things that happen in their life through the life sequences. So the locations, maybe, or what happens, or I have snacks at this point of time, or something of the kind. So in other words, they're going to discover behaviors which they could want to change, or so in other words, they're gaining awareness. Now, so the differences in the art, here we look at how different people have approached the idea of context awareness. So, here in this example, the authors applied this context awareness on smart devices and smart artifacts to make them smarter. So just imagine a phone whereby you are in a meeting, but then it notices that you are in a meeting and then it automatically goes in silent mode. Or so this is the kind of research the authors did. And then for healthcare and well-being, there have been works where they're trying to understand the vital signs. The vital signs meaning that something like heart rate, if you have the high blood pressure, all things of the kind, then how do we help you in this point? And then also in clinical assistance, whereby when the machine is helping in an operation room, but then it has to know the context on how things are done. So this is the kind of work which is carried here. And so also context awareness has been applied in decision making, where they're improving the different contexts, how people make some decisions to improve recommendations, so in recommender systems. And then here in this one, that applying the context awareness to know the kind of transportation means people are using. And this other one is almost the same as in clinical research, where the context is context awareness is applied where the human and the robot are taking part in in maybe in assembly or in a factory setting, and so the machine has to know what the position or the position the user is in, so that it doesn't come in his way or to harm him or in case of a movement. So this is more in the safety part. And this other research was more of a hierarchical sensor management strategy for context awareness. Now, how are you going to apply our methodology to enhance the context and life sequence awareness? So we propose to build a dashboard. But now this dashboard will be an interface where the user will be able to manipulate the data from which is represented in the long-term memory. So, but then the long-term memory, it has knowledge graphs. But how do we understand these knowledge graphs and present them in such a way that the user is able to understand them or understand this data and can actually manipulate it? So basically, the point will be here is that on top of building the interface, then we have to build out an algorithm and APIs which will represent this data in such a way that the user will understand it, and then the user will be able to perform queries which will be effective in such a way that he can query this data, and when the query comes down to the long-term memory, it pulls the data which is in line with the queries the user has. So an example would be that, so we believe that in the life sequence, we know that there will be data about the location when you went to the beach or when you are with this person X, say Bob, my best friend. So if I want to see all the dates, or if I want to perform a query where I was at the beach or on vacation, then it should be able to pull this data out of the long-term memory and present it to the user. And then the other part is that since the machine has been learning about the user, so it should be that when the user also gives a wrong answer, so the machine should be also able to ask the user some questions. Where are you? And so if the user gives a wrong question, when the user gives an answer which causes doubt in the machine, then the machine should be able to ask the user if this is really the right place. So in so doing, the user, if the answer is correct from the user, then the machine will be able to adjust what it has been learning previously. So this is the kind of methodology which will be involved in this approach. So this is the proposed system. It has what I've described previously. So we have the knowledge graphs here in the long-term memory, and our interface. This is what looks of the sort, whereby we have the live. So the data is presented in such a way that the user can query, make simple queries or even complex queries, where he can find search by location. So I said where I was at the beach, or something like, the activities was doing, the different friends he's interacting with, or the mood. So different things he can do on this data so that he can understand that. So in the end, actually, we bring out the habits he has, and he can work on these habits if he has to change them. And then on the other part, which I described, the machine asking questions to the user so that he can learn. He can make this. The machine. So that the machine. Sorry. Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So I heard something in the background, so I thought okay. So the machine can give questions to the user, and depending on what the answer, then the machine can understand I mean, if it has doubt, then the user can help it correct, and then in so doing, as this is corrected, also the data in the LTM will be corrected. Now, for the methodology evaluation, how are you going to evaluate this dashboard? So we shall perform a real-life case study or a number of real-life case studies where we have two groups of people. So one group will work without the dashboard, then the other group will work with the dashboard. And how this whole experience will be evaluated is we shall create evaluation questions which will be passed on to the people taking part in the experiment. And depending on the responses the people give from the two groups, then that's how we shall evaluate this dashboard. Now, coming to the importance of the work, this has been from the previous part I presented, but then I'll go over it again. So when the user becomes aware of their life sequences, then this is a bit empowering. So if I know my habits, then I know how maybe I can work on my habits. There are things I do subconsciously, but then as I visualize this data, I'll realize them, and I'm like, so I say, maybe I need to change this way or that. Now, the other part is here I will be able to, the user can read, update or manipulate their data. So how this happens is the different queries they do, then also they can form different logs which could be useful to them. Now, the machine learning part is there is work whereby they're learning when to ask the user these questions. So, this will be an interface which enables the interaction of the machine with the user. So, these are the two importances currently for this approach in my research. Thank you for your attention, and if any questions.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for your presentation. Now we can ask questions or give comments for talking by raising hands. And your discussions are Marcelo, Mateo, and Hona. And of course, anyone else are welcome to give questions or comments.
Excuse me.
And the first is Alessio, please.
Pardon?
Hello. So thank you very much. I don't know if I should be the first or the other three you mentioned, but since you give me the right to speak, I will do the very first question, but is I think fast one. It's related to the very last slide. So
This one?
yes, exactly. In the first point, you're saying that people will become aware of their habits, and is in the second level bullet point, you're saying that they are able to read and update their log. At this point, there's not a risk in someone wanting to lie themselves and change the data, the behavior that is outcoming because they don't want to recognize some bad habits. Like, for example, I'm going out drinking all days and then I don't want other people or even just the system to think about myself as a person with alcohol problem. So I will just modify my data to just delete those and say that I wasn't in the bar, I was instead in the restaurant eating some steak, and just lying myself, since I'm able both to read and modify my data.
Okay, maybe I presented this a bit not the right way. The update is that when the machine, the update will be in such a way that when a machine asks you a question here, so it's not directly that the user is going to update their data actually. It's the machine that, in other words, I ask you, I've been reading or studying about you, the machine has been reading about you, and you say that at GPS X you are at home, but then GPS Z comes in and you say you're at home. I mean, the machine has been saying 4 5 times you say X is your home, but then now Z is also saying that it's your home. So when the machine asks you this question, it's going to say that, are you at home really? So in other words, are you going to prove yes or no? So this is how, I mean, this will be the update, the kind of update that happens.
Yeah, sure, but like being at home is not a bad habit. Like being at the bar, it could be recognized as a bad habit, for example.
Yes.
So there's not a risk that if you ask the user to give you input about that, and not just taking the fact that you are in the only place in activity that is in the surrounding is a bar, and you are there in the opening hours, and the precision of the GPS is 1 meter. So there's no way. Like, I mean, if the user is lying on that, there's not there's no issues there. Like there's a way for you to be able to not allow the user to modify those data or to delete those data. I don't know if it's possible to delete because in that point maybe the machine learning algorithm was right, and the user just want to lie.
But so it depends how many times you go to the bar and how many times you're at home, and when the questions come in, it won't be that this will be directly that when you answer this, the machine will change this. But then there are going to be algorithms also the machine takes before it algorithms and chances it takes before it updates this data. Matters, okay, this is not my work, but I mean there are measures taken, I mean in place, which are in place before it actually updates this data. It's not a one-time answer.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just another very small one, since the context is containing is made out of also the object that are together with the user, as you mentioned, and generally, like they're in the same place. Being in the same place may regard like also a contextual meaning of being in the same place, because like being in the same place means in the same room, in the same house, in the 1 meter from me. It really depends from the object or many other things. So potentially there are a lot of items or a lot of people, but especially items in the same place, for example, in the same room. And for the same thing also for the data. How can the user recognize among all those objects or data which are the very important one and the one that helps you to find the good habits?
So basically, still, okay, I'm sorry to say, this still is, I'm building on a different person's work. So, but this is like the motivation which leads to my work. But then the approach is this, that still from the different studies of the representation being carried out, and
yeah.
yes,
sorry to interrupt. No, I mean, like, how can, since you have to build a visualizer, an application for visualize all those things, how can you make this application visual? I mean, how you handle the dimension, the multitude of data that you have to visualize, because there are like a very diverse kind of data. I mean, you do have like a lot of objects, a lot of kind of data, and you have to visualize them all. What is your tactics that you are using? Because like it's very sparse.
Yes, exactly. Yes, so the data is really overwhelming, and so in the methodology, I propose to build an algorithm which will focus more on uh, okay, which will group the objects in such a way that we have something like the location or the kind of actions the person is doing, the people interacting with them, and then the mood. So according to the proposed the proposed part here. Now, if we consider all the objects, then this is going to be overwhelming. So for starters, how about we group them in this? So we deal with the location first, then the actions the user is doing, and then from these, then we start putting in the different objects which they are using. So it's like a high level part whereby I start with a group, then from this group, then I start putting the different small objects or the other objects which are coming from here. So the highest part is I'm choosing a group which is here and another group. So these four groups: location, the activities, the people, and then the mode. So from here, then we move on to the other small objects which could be involved here, and then bit by bit, then we make the queries. So I don't know if I've answered your question, right?
Yeah. You did. Okay, I understand. It's clear now. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Excuse me.
And the next, and Alpha and Mateo, do you want to ask the questions? Alpha, and you raise your hand, but cancel it.
Yeah, I want to ask some question. Maybe since me and Marcelo and Aunan are the discussant, I don't know if Marcelo wants to go first, or I can start, or Aunan, if you want to go first, then I can start as you prefer. Okay, right, Matteo. Maybe I start and then okay. I just want to build on top of what Alessio said or what he started to say in the first question. So it seems to me that for the first part, okay, there is some general comments are that you should better look at the structure of your presentation. Since it seems to me that let's say the title are not aligned with what you are writing in the content. So like the motivation part, it seems to me that it's not a motivation, so it's not why you are doing the things, but it's more like, let's say, not a set of the art, but the things that you already have, and that we are already on which we are already working on. So it seems that are more something that is done by other and that you are using instead of a motivation, of a real motivation. And here comes my first question. So about that part is the question is why do we need to have a dashboard, which is really connected to what also Alessio said. So related to the habits part, to monitoring habits and bad habits. So why do we need a dashboard? Why people need to be, for example, self-aware? And connected to this also, there are the questions that should help you better look at the state of art. That is, aren't there any other dashboard? And what is the dashboard? What the dashboard that you are developing can do that the other dashboard cannot do? So those are two connected questions that should help you to think about also the state of the art. I don't know if you have already an answer on that.
Okay, currently, for the dashboards, I will expound more on the state of the art, because I had looked at the use of context awareness. So Yeah, but I'll look at other dashboards or other visualization approaches. But then the why we need it is more, which is more of why the learning of the habits is important. So the self-awareness part will be is important in, okay, so why the dashboard, and because it will lead to the self-awareness. So why self-awareness? So in other words, like answering that. So this is because in other words, when I learn my behavior, then it can help enhance my, or it can help improve my life. So, like the bad behavior Aloysia talked about, I'm a drink, I'm a drunko. So the thing is, if I'm not proud of this, then I can change that. But then there are also other behaviors which we do subconsciously without like direct knowing. But with the dashboard, I can discover this behavior, and I can actually, it can help me improve. So in other words, this is like helping me discover other things which I didn't know. And in so doing, it helps me improve my life.
Okay, I see what you're saying. My question is, so my point is that you should go one level down on that part, because it will help you also to better define also your problem and your solution. And the question is, improving what sense? So what you're going to improve? Are you going to improve? I don't know, my ability to remember things. Are you going to improve my ability to better know my I don't know, my body, or I don't know, my emotion, or that's something that should help you to better define what the dashboard can do, and yeah, what the type of services that you can offer on that side.
Okay.
And I'm asking this question because also in the problem statement, again, is a way to go one level down. And the idea is that so what are you planning to reach? And it is something they should write in the problem statement. What are you planning to reach with this dashboard? What the dashboard should look like? For example, how this that's one thing. And also you should better define if you are working on the developing, for example, the long-term memory part, or what you're taking from the long-term memory part. If you are developing some machine learning algorithm, and what type of algorithm will it be, if you're working on that side. If you are going to implement the wall model of the dashboard, that support the dashboard, or if you are going to better work on the visualization part. I see that most of this work is already done by others. So, for example, the question answering part is done by Hanan. The visualization part is done by Giacomo, for example. The long-term memory is more work that is done by Marcelo, by Xavier. So, what is your what is the things that you are offering in with the dashboard? What is your how is it said, a unique selling proposition? What do you do with the dashboard?
Okay. I already defined this. I will define this. Thank you.
And according to that, we can have. I will be very happy to have a discussion also with you on the testing part. So because once you have defined exactly what you're going to do with the dashboard, what you're going to propose, then there are a lot of room and for experiment. I mean, it's very hard to test something that concern the whole life of a person, and to see if there are improvements in there. But if we we manage to better specify what we can observe, a precise portion of the life, maybe related to, I don't know, eating habits, healthy habits, I don't know. Then there is definitely room for doing very nice experiment on that.
Okay.
And I will shut up and let the other talks.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. The third raising hands person is Hanan, and Hanan, please.
Hi, Ivan.
Hello.
And I have some same comments with Mattel, but in different points. First, from your state of the art, you said about the contact awareness, but in page 9. Yes, in here you didn't say how link the state of the art with your problem statement, because in here you said how does any people done, but you didn't say why your research is important and also which problem they didn't finish. And the second point here is, I think it's necessary to do some state-of-the-art about other dashboard or other applications, because for now there are many applications to send ESM questions to the participants or the users, and why your dashboard is better than others. I think there is another point in here.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Yes, and another thing I think, because you need to build the dashboard to interact with you with others, you can introduce how to protect the security and the privacy of the users. I think it's another point to say.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next raising hands person is Amelia, and please.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Ivan. I was wondering, how you plan to measure the context awareness in your real-world experiments? How you plan to measure it?
You mean in the evaluation?
Yes, right. Yes.
Well, basically, I don't think we're going to measure. I don't know. By measure, you mean the extent how, the awareness has been got or understood by the people who use the dashboard?
Since you are planning to evaluate your dashboards with some participants, so what you are actually evaluating? So, how easily is for the user to interact with the dashboard, or if the user acquire more awareness by using your dashboard? If you give more details about the metrics that you plan to use to make your evaluation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Now I get it. I will. When I interact with Matteo, I will get a better evaluation. Measurement.
Okay. So, one last question. So you are running real-world experiment. Are you planning to develop all the infrastructure, or what is already existing?
So what is already existing is that the long-term memory and the contents exists, and then the machine learning part exists. So what is missing is the dashboard and the services which enable the interaction for the questions, and then the queries for the data.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe I will have to indicate what exists. maybe with a different color or something like that.
Okay, maybe I can do one very last question. Why machine learning need to interact with the user, and especially why a machine learning algorithm need to interact with the user through your dashboard? What are the advantages, and what are the reasons why there is the need of a human in the loop approach? Thank you.
Okay. Hey, should I answer that? I mean, Andrea, should I answer that, or I need to write it? Because yes, when I introduce the human in the loop part, is the user and the machine. I mean, the user is helping the machine to learn, right? So, Andrea, sorry, I'm just asking. Do you want me to answer it now, or to include it also in the presentation?
No, okay. For I know a bit the answer. Just for your presentation, maybe you need to be aware of this aspect, which might
Try to answer.
you need to think about it. And
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
And the last people is Marcelo, please.
Okay. Hi, Ivan.
Hello.
So first, some comments on the presentation. So you spent about half of your presentation explaining the problem. So you should go faster in this time and spend more time in your let's say from your methodology or your proposed systems. So this is something that you should consider when you do the presentation. Then for the question part, there majorly there are two things I want. One question I want you to answer is how your system is different from the state of the art. Actually, Haonan already asked this question, but can you give like a minute answer of how your proposed system is different from the state of the art? Ivan, are you there?
Okay. So, um, okay. So I didn't include the other dashboards in my state of the art, but then currently, so far the dashboards we looked at, the kind of so this will be okay. I want to put it this way. So the dashboards which currently exist don't separate the the life log or something, or the representation in the dimensions we propose to put. So the different dimensions of the location, I mean the activities, the user, and so they don't really present this data in this way, and they don't give the user the ability to perform more queries the way we shall present the data. So in other words, things like I give me all give me all the data which is linked to my vacation, or give me all the pictures which where I am with this person. So the current which could be in line with that is that the user has to tag them directly. So let's take an example of maybe some when you're organizing your pictures in maybe in the gallery. So you'll choose one by one, and then maybe you like them, or you choose them and you put them in a different subfolder, and you name them, things of the kind. But how could it be? How better would it be that you just perform a query and it gives you this particular kind of data? So I mean, this dashboard will be able to perform such a service compared to the current ones.
Okay, so my point here, so this explanation should be done in when you talk about the next slide, which is the state of the art, and you didn't do the. Hanan already mentioned this. So in that part, you should mention this is the state of the art, and I'm different from this because of, and even be more precise in the sense comparing them with your work in every single line of experiment research that you find. So this is my comment, and finally, just a small comment. You should talk more with the people that are working in the other parts, because you mentioned that long-term memory is there, exists, and machine learning exists. I'm not sure that both of these things exist, since I'm working on more or less on both. So you should not do claims like that without knowing. You should say that these are work, as you mentioned, that these are work that are related to other people, but this also can make you the question that what happens if you don't, if no one develop or no one managed to solve a long-term memory? How are you going to continue if you are dependent on the long-term memory or on the machine learning? You're not going to have a thesis if you depend on them. I mean, these are, let's say, more difficult questions in sense that you are depending on 3-4 theses, and what are you going to do if these people cannot solve their individual problems, let's say. But this is things you don't need to answer now, but you should think when you explain this, especially in the related work park and in your system. So this is all my main comments here. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. So,
Okay. And is there more people want to ask questions and give comments? No, I think no. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for your presentation. And I think we can stop here. See you next week.
thank you so much. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Bye.